Welcome back, I'm Captain Xavier, and you guessed it, I'm still a shameless fan of getting free stuff. Especially free blasters that I have a niche need for and didn't quite have the right thing to fill it. What we have here is my first blaster from AGM MASTECH, and it is a shell ejecting pump action pistol grip looking shotgunny thing. And well, I'll explain why I had a need for it as soon as we get it assembled. It should be fairly simple. This goes on here, couple of screws. Let me assemble it, then let's just get everything out of the box. There we go. And there it is, fully assembled, very simple, 4 screws. They even give you the screwdriver, which is super handy. It does come with 2 shell clips, which appear to just be Picatinny rail mount. Yep. And then it'll hold shells. Why there's 2 of them, I'm not sure. You can't put them on both sides because it'll block the ejection port, and there isn't quite enough rail to get it secure on that side. I guess you could go there. Is that going to get in the way of the pump? Yes. Yes, it is. So, not sure why they give you 2, but that's decent of them. Simple reload mechanism. Have to have it primed, reload to the bottom, it'll hold 4 shells, it then loads in, ejects, very cool. Oh, interesting, it doesn't have a slide lock, so you can eject shells without actually firing them if you feel like it. Huh, neat. All right, I'm gonna get it loaded up. Take it to the chronograph, get some numbers. I might even, it's a beautiful day, I think I will take it to the range and plink a bit with it. And then I'll come back and talk about why I'm actually really pleased that this is what they sent me and my thoughts on it in general. So, let's get you some FEPs. Take it to the range. Right, now I've currently got it loaded up with the darts it came with, which is about a 3/4 length suction cup head dart. And we'll see how well it fires those. 81. That's actually better than I was expecting. 81. 84. 82. 83. So, yeah, that's End Strike Elite performance, which isn't bad. I don't know how much more you could beef that up. I'd worry about the priming arms if you went too much heavier, but that's definitely something I'm going to look into. There's not a whole lot of room for a big plunger tube, but that's not bad. Now, I know the question you're probably asking, because I'm certainly asking it, can it fire other darts? So I've got just a standard worker half dart, which do fit. 78. So it will fire them, but possibly not quite as well. Interesting. I'm gonna go try a bamboo. Right, got a standard 2-band Dart Zone bamboo, which usually get a little bit more FPS. 83, so that's getting the same as their darts, which is interesting. So, let's take it to the range, see if I can hit anything with it. Right, here on the range, I've got it loaded up with the darts it came with, and we're gonna see if we can hit the 25. Yes! Well, twice anyway. Alright, let's get it loaded up with worker darts. I remember which pocket I put them in. Alright! Honk! See if we can get it with worker darts. Two out of 5 again. Now, I'm sure some of you have asked this question, and probably already put it in the comments because you couldn't bother to wait. Will it fire 50 cal balls? Well, let's find out. I have 5 shells loaded up with 4 balls each. And we'll see if that is too many. If it is, we'll retry it with 3, but I wanted to try it with 4 to give it the benefit of the doubt and to get maximum effectiveness. No. Cannot do 4, apparently. Let's try it again. That one did okay. I'm gonna... Oh, we're dribbling. We're dribbling. Okay. One moment, I'm having issues. All right, we're gonna try it again with 3 rounds. 3 rounds works. Or at least kind of does. Yeah, that one worked. Yeah, for the most part, 3 works. One of them, the shell was a little bit tighter and it didn't work quite as well, but the others did. Not quite 25 feet, which I generally would like at least 25 feet. I aimed a little bit higher, I could hit somebody. If I'm going to be using those rounds, I'm going to be using it real close, and they're probably going to be in my arena, which would actually be really fun. Though I do have probably better options for that. I've got the Colonel Wasp, which I think I've got one that works. Anyway, I'm definitely gonna compare these shells to the Colonel Wasp. I'm curious. Yeah, let's go talk about it. Try to clean up this mess. Finding those little balls is gonna be a pain. I know how many are out there. See if I can go find all 25. All right, let's talk about this thing. Well, for starters, it is decidedly more impressive than I was expecting. The performance is a little bit better than I was expecting. I wasn't expecting N-Strike elite levels of performance. Low 80s is really quite acceptable for what this is, in my opinion. I'm impressed with what all they give you. You get 40 darts. It does actually come with the screwdriver necessary to assemble it, as well as the screws. That was a nice touch. Comes with 16 shells, which is a lot of shells. That's one of the things that is often a problem with shell blasters, is they just don't give you enough shells. This gives you 4 full reloads, assuming you're not putting one in the chamber. And it does give you dart or shell holders that are rail attached. You can really only get one of them on there. You can get them both. The rail isn't quite long enough for them both. And you run into the issue of hitting the shell holder with the prime. But if you can get it on there and get it to not do that, maybe just by bending it a little bit, you can then get 12 shells on there plus the 4 that's in the tube, and that's all of your shells, which is kind of handy. Or you could just go with the 6. You can't really put this on both sides because then it's going to block the ejection port, obviously, so that doesn't really... I wonder if you only went with 1. Or what was it, first? No, it's still going to block it. Anyway, they've got those. The darts are decent. They're about a 3/4 dart, suction cup, decent foam. They get a good seal in the shells. The shells are consistent. They're decently made. I didn't have any issues with it jamming throughout all of that. It loads smoothly when you have it primed, loads there. Didn't have any issues with it jamming. Occasionally it wouldn't quite fully eject. You really gotta give it a good pop to get it to eject train. And it is compatible with other forms of ammo. Obviously you could cut down your own darts or you could use regular half darts. It does work with the 50 cal balls if you want a good shotgun spread. 3 worked well, 2 would probably work even better, 4 it couldn't quite handle. And the quality of the blaster itself is definitely better than I was expecting. The plastic quality is not quite, it's nowhere near worker quality, nor is it Dart Zone or Nerf quality, but it is definitely, I would say, Busby quality. And it's definitely a step above X-Shot. X-Shot blasters tend to feel real brittle. This does not feel brittle. This doesn't feel like it's going to shatter if you drop it, though I wouldn't recommend dropping it too many times. It does have metal parts, so this ejection gate is metal. The actual ejection spring in there is metal. So there are metal parts where you'd really want the parts to be metal. There could have done more. I would have liked to seen the priming bars be metal, though that might be something you could replace relatively easily with a metal part. Just because I obviously want to put a heavier spring, I would love to get this thing to 100 FPS. That would be my goal, and my goal is to use it for cosplay. This is pretty much exactly what Corporal Hicks had in Aliens as his backup weapon when they go into the hive and all of their pulse rifle ammo is confiscated for fear of piercing the reactor. he pulls out a shotgun that looked very, very similar to this, which was his weapon for close encounters, as he said. And that is exactly what I want to use it for. I would like to do a Colonial Marine cosplay in addition to my Smart Gunner cosplay, and this is the perfect item for it. And it is decently functional. I will probably paint it up to be much more realistic, at which point I would only ever be able to use it at some place like Afterworlds, but that's probably where I would ever want to use this particular one. Though it is a nice bright color. It is obviously a very realistic form factor. It's just been painted brightly, so, you know, keep that in mind. But I am pleasantly surprised. I believe what they call this is their 23 rifle blaster. I don't know why they chose that name, but that's what is on the instructions anyway. I am looking forward to seeing what else they send me. I really hope all of their blasters, if they're all shell ejecting, take the same shells, because I would actually love to have a good ecosystem of shell ejecting blasters that all take the same. That's kind of the real problem, is almost none of the various shell ejecting blasters are cross compatible. These are not quite compatible with the Colonel Wasp shells. The Colonel Wasp shells are very, very similar in their exact same size, exact same length, but the rim at the back. This one has the indent, and the other one, it has an extended rim. So, I mean, even Hasbro couldn't stick with using the same shells for more than one or two blasters. The only ecosystem that is consistent so far is the silly shells, and they're much larger. So there are some other 3D printed ones. I think the Shellington, there's a few that take it, but I would love to have an ejection molded shell ecosystem that actually had decent shells and decent performance. One thing I did look into is, would it be possible to cut the shells down to be just the necessary length for half darts, which would make them easier to load? And I think if you did, I think it would still work. I'm not willing to sacrifice one of my shells to find out unless I can get more of the shells. But the advantage is, I think if you were to cut them down, you'd be able to get at least one more shell into the tube. So if it would still feed with a shorter shell, you could get more shells in it, and it would be easier to load regular half darts as opposed to the 3/4 darts. So, now, there's my thoughts. I am pleasantly pleased. I look forward to doing more reviews for, what were they? AGM MASTECH. Yes, AGM MASTECH. Thank you very much for sending me this to fiddle with and to review, and thank you guys for watching.